Hey everybody, Chad Wesley-Smith here, bringing you part 2 of our 5 Pillars to Great Squat Technique series. I am joined by my lovely assistant, who apparently didn't want to do our Captain Morgan pose anymore, Marisa, IPF world champion, all-time total world record holder, and still. Okay. Sorry, I'm just getting carried away with my announcing skills. We talked about already a great setup for the squat and how to generate maximal upper back tightness. Now we're going to be talking still about tightness and pressure. Now it's going to happen through your breathing, intra-abdominal pressure. I'm assuming most of you have probably heard the cues for the squat to take big air into your belly or to push your abs out into your belt. And those are both okay cues, but they fall short in the regard that they're only talking about pushing your abs forward, so you're missing out on a lot of potential pressure, potential stability, and it could also maybe even set you up for injury by putting you into a lot of low back extension. Myself, having dealt with 2 herniated discs previously, I think this was a big reason why, and one of the things that Dr. Quinn Hennock helped me change about my squat was rather than taking my air in like this, I then learned how to take my air in and set a more neutral position, which not only helped me be able to squat heavy again, even after having had those injuries, it also helped me squat more than I ever had before. So this is something we talk to a lot of people about at clinics, and is a foundational concept of great squatting and deadlifting and staying healthy for long-term sustainable training. So the way that I go about getting my air in the squat, it happens kind of at 2 places. First, in the unrack. So it's important, Marissa's going to do all the same things that we talked about with that tight upper back position. But as she unracks the bar, what we want to avoid is a lot of extension, a lot of belly down, hips way back, arch through the low back. What we want to try and do is get your hips underneath you so you can bring the bar out of the rack with your hips and legs rather than doing a little bit of a good morning with it out. And of course, as you're getting up to maximal squat weights, you're going to have to take this big air in and focus on pushing that air down and out, really creating tension through the obliques. So as Marisa unracks there and walks it out, the next step of taking this air in is going to be a very similar process. That she's going to flex her glutes, which is going to neutral her hip under her rather than leaving the hips back behind the bar. And then she's going to take big air in through the nose and mouth, filling up as much air pressure as possible. And it's key that that air comes in and it goes down and out. And it tells you to push your obliques out. That's going to create maximal tension because your abs in front are going to have to tighten because of that. But if all you do is tighten the abs in front, you might not generate that same type of tightness from the obliques. Go ahead and rack it. So our ultimate goal is to create 360 degrees of pressure, circumferential expansion, rather than just 180 degrees of pressure of pushing our abs forward. It is important in this rib position comes into play. I think a lot of that gets addressed by the hip position, as it's going to be very hard to neutral your hip here if you're also extended through the thoracic spine and have a lot of your ribs are up. As Dr. Quinn would say, your rib boobs are up. That's a medical scientific term. And so it's a simple process, but it has to be learned starting with 90-90 breathing. 90-90 breathing is a critical drill to create a foundation for it, because if you can't have a proper breathing pattern creating that 360 degrees of pressure through the 90-90 breathing, which is a very low threshold position, laying on your back, feet elevated, without the force of gravity pulling your shoulders and torso down on your lungs, creating that extra resistance, it's very unlikely that you're going to be able to do it well under load, particularly not under maximal load. So make sure as you're going through warm-up sets, your pre-training, retraining, and then of course your warm-up sets, they're being very, very deliberate about the way that you take your air in, because it's going to be those empty bar, 1 plate, 2 plates, whatever the weights are for you as you build up, that you're able to ingrain this technique properly. If you just get to your top set and you're like, well, now's the time to do it, it's going to be very, very hard for you to learn how to do it properly. One real common mistake that we'll see in breathing is going to be people who fail to take the air into the abs and push out through the obliques, and they're breathing all in the chest and shoulders. So as Marisa takes air in here, you're really going to see the shoulders and chest rise. And that actually even puts the bar a little bit higher. And we all know that high bar squats are generally harder than low bar squats, so we don't want to elevate the bar. And stability is not going to be generated so much up here in the torso for a really great big squat, but that stability is going to be generated here through the obliques, through the abs, almost down into the hips. So we want to push that air down and out, making your waist as wide as possible. Now, everyone probably wants to be cool with this like narrow waist and six pack like Marisa has, but if you were to look at the world's greatest squatters, you're going to see people with generally larger waists. So trying to maximize your waist size through your breathing pattern is going to be critical to having the biggest squat possible. So again, it's air in through the nose, finish through the mouth, push that air down and out through the obliques, trying to make your waist as wide as possible. Pushing down the obliques, automatically that's going to generate pressure in front as well as behind. Hold that air in tension throughout the lift, and it should be maximal tension. It should be very uncomfortable as you go. The type of pressure you want to generate is the type of pressure that makes you feel like either your head is going to pop off or you're going to poop your pants. If one of those happens, I'm sorry, but all in the name of a bigger squat. So that is our second pillar. So we're talking about 360 degrees of pressure, circumferential expansion through your breathing, critical component to a big squat. Be deliberate about it. I should be able, if I was standing across the gym, I should be able to see you take big air in and be very deliberate about setting that neutral hip position and 360 degrees of pressure down and out through the obliques. Hopefully you learned something. If you haven't watched Pillar 1 on setup yet, make sure you check that out. Look for the next 3 parts of this series, and please subscribe to the channel. Thank you.
Get expert program design, video analysis, and guidance for powerlifting and weightlifting, whether you're a beginner, intermediate, or advanced athlete, through Team Juggernaut's online coaching. Click Learn More to sign up.